Welcome everybody to City on a Hill Community Church. We're so glad that you guys made it out this morning and that you guys are looking forward to worshiping with us and learning about God through Shane's message this morning. I just hope that everybody is being safe out there, that everybody is still able to commune with each other and get together with one another virtually. And spend those important minutes with each other in the church. I'm so grateful for you all. If this is your first time, keep tuning in. We're glad to have you, and we just hope that everybody is going to have a great rest of the week and that your previous week was awesome. Enjoy worship.
I will lay them at your feet, surrender every anxious thought for perfect peace, your perfect peace. And all the loved ones I will give, all my hopes and dreams and all my fears, and I will choose to trust your name in everything, in everything. I will look up, for there is none above you. I will bow down to tell you that I need you, Jesus, Lord, and Jesus, Lord, and I will take you at your word, 'cause Jesus, you have taken hold of me. All my life is in your hands. You are my strength. You are my strength. I will look up, for there is none above you. I will bow down to tell you that I need you, Jesus, Lord. I will look back and see that you are faithful. I look ahead, believing you are able, Jesus, Lord, Jesus, Lord, and Prince of Peace, and perfect healer, all my life, and all my cares on you, King of Kings, mighty Savior, all my life, and all my cares on you, Prince of Peace, and perfect healer, all my life, and all my cares on you, King of Kings, mighty Savior, all my life, all come back with the head of my enemy. You come back and you call it my victory. And you go before I know that you've even gone to win my war. Your love becomes my greatest defense. It leads me from the dry wilderness. And all I did was praise. All I did was worship. All I did was bow down. All I did was stay still. Hallelujah, you have saved me so much better this way. And hallelujah, great defender, so much better your way. You know before I do where my heart can see to find your truth. Your mercy is the shade I'm living in. You restore my faith in hope again. Hallelujah, you have saved me so much better your way. Hallelujah, great defender, so much better your way. Sing it. And hallelujah, you have saved me so much better this way. And hallelujah, great defender, so much better this way. And when I thought I lost me, you knew where I left me. You reintroduced me to your love. You picked up all my pieces, you put them back together. You are the defender of my heart. And when I thought I lost me, you knew where I left. You reintroduced me to your love. You picked up all my pieces, you put me back together. You are the defender of my heart. And all I did was praise. All I did was worship. And all I did was bow down. And all I did was stay still. Oh, and hallelujah, you have saved much better this way. Yes, oh God, and hallelujah, great defender, so much better this way.
Good morning, church. Good to see you. Shane here, yet again, online, Facebook, YouTube. Glad to see you. Glad that you're spending some time with us whenever it is that you are watching this. Hopefully you're watching this with us on Sunday morning, but if not, that's okay too. We still want you to know that we care about you and that we're excited that you are learning about Jesus with us a little bit more and a little bit deeper. If this is your first time, welcome. My name is Pastor Shane, and we just want to thank you for joining us and spending some time with us. I think that it's a different way of doing church, and we know that we aren't able to meet everybody in person right now, but it's still at least where it's possible where we can spend a little bit of time together. So I should say this too. I should mention this, that if you do want to give, we believe in tithes and offerings being very important in the church. And you are always invited to continue to worship with us through your giving, because giving is an act of worship. And so we want to invite you to give. You can do that on our website, cityonathillmd.org, and click on the Give tab in the top right corner. And you can do that, and you can give your tithes and offering that way. Your giving makes a difference, and it does not go by without being noticed. We are so thankful for those of you who do give, and thankful that you are just spending some time with us. So we're in the Back to the Basics series, and we've been in this series the last 3 weeks, or this is the third week of it. And the goal of this series is to talk about the foundation of being a follower of Jesus, the basics of being a follower of Jesus, and also the basics of being the church. Because the church is made up of people. The church is made up of you and I. And we know that the church is not a building. And we definitely believe that because we don't even have a building right now. We have nowhere for us to meet at the moment, which is okay. And we have some other plans that we're putting together and figuring some things out. But we know that the church is not a building, but the church is made up of people, because that is exactly where we are at. But even in the midst of a pandemic, even in the midst of not being able to see each other in person every Sunday, we are still called to be the church. And you and I are still called to be followers of Jesus Christ and to live our lives the way that he has called us to live them. And so that's what the series is all about. Despite the way that our world is currently, we should still be the church, and we should still be the example of what it means to follow Jesus Christ. So far we've talked about the importance of fellowship 2 weeks ago, and then last week we talked about the importance of prayer, and we spent all this past week praying every night, Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock, and it was a really great time. I want to encourage you to continue to pray, even if we aren't doing it on Facebook Live as a church. We'll do that again in the future. But the idea of this past week was to make sure that we establish a lifestyle of prayer. And a lifestyle of worship at all times. So hopefully you will continue to pursue prayer in all that you do. But today we're going to talk about something that I feel like our church, City on a Hill, is kind of good at and kind of bad at. And I think that that's pretty much the case for most churches. Maybe not all, but this is a common thing for churches, where I feel like churches can be kind of good at this and kind of bad at this, all at the same time, and I'll explain myself more throughout the sermon. But serving is something that is not very glamorous. Service to somebody else is something that is not like at the top of our list of things that we want to do. But service to other people is so very important, and it's a basic foundation of being a follower of Jesus Christ, and the basic foundation of being a part of a church and a community of believers that are trying to live like Jesus, to lead more people to Jesus. It is foundational to all that we do and all that churches do. Service is something that it just doesn't get people very excited very often. Some people it does. I shouldn't say everybody, but for a lot of people, it's like, oh, you want me to volunteer to do something that I don't really want to do and not get paid any money for it and take time out of my schedule, and I work a busy job already, 40 plus hours a week, or I go to school and I do that. I barely have any free time as it is, and now you want me to sacrifice more time by doing something for other people who probably won't even appreciate it, or what's the point? It's not something that is glamorous, and it's not something that is popular, but everything that Jesus built in his ministry was built around serving people. That was what Jesus did while he walked the face of this earth. That is everything with his ministry. He left heaven and came to this earth to serve other people, not to be served. However, we have a problem. In our world today, we like to be the ones who are being served. We don't often like to be the ones who are doing the serving, but instead, I want other people to serve me. I want other people to come alongside and give me what I want and wait on me and do things for me, and everything is built around me. We live in a world and a society that is built around others doing things for us. That's pretty common. I mean, we never hear a kid growing up say something like, "Oh, when I grow up, I want to serve other people." No, we don't say that. When we grow up, that's not how we go about our life. That's not ingrained in us. We don't say, "Hey," to our kids, "Hey, when you grow up, you should just serve people all the time." That's not something that we really tell our children very often, and that's not really the attitude that many children have growing up. At a young age, we are taught that we want to be the ones being served, not the ones who are doing the serving. That's often what our kids are taught, what we teach one another. We live in a society that says, you want other people waiting on you. Not the other way around. Because our pride can keep us from seeing service to others as something to aspire to. For a lot of us, we're proud people. We don't ever want anything to happen that puts our pride to the side. We feel a certain way about ourselves, or we don't, and we want to feel a certain way about ourselves. And so our pride is this thing where we have it and we tell ourselves, no. I'm special, I'm different. I don't want to wait on other people. I should be the one that others are waiting for and that others are serving. But at the same time, we think that service is important for other people to do, just not me. Yeah, that's great. You should volunteer your hours. Yeah, that's great. You should go and make a difference at your local nursing home. Yeah, that's great. That's wonderful. Just not for me. Yeah, that's great. You should go about everything that you're doing and make sure that you are looking for other people and taking care of other people. Yeah, that's great. I don't want to do it though. And that's pretty typical and pretty common in our world in America, at least around here. For example, I used to lead a membership class at Crossroads, which was a previous church that I worked at. And this membership class was all about serving. That was what it was all about. And I would always start the class by asking everybody, what do you think are some good qualities that a leader should have? What are qualities that a good leader would have is what I would ask. And the number one answer that I would always receive was this: a leader should lead by example. Meaning a leader should be the one who shows us what we should do, and a leader should not ask somebody else to do something that they wouldn't do themselves. A leader should lead by example. That was the number one answer that I would always get. You know, a leader is someone else. If someone else is leading me, I want to see them also working. I don't want to be the only one. And so we always have this expectation that other people should work, other people should serve, other people should volunteer, other people should roll up their sleeves and get in the trenches and do the dirty work. Other people should do that. Especially if I have to do it, then you better be doing it too. But we don't like volunteering ourselves when nobody else is doing it. We don't like being the only one serving. If I serve, which is a big if for many people, if I do anything, there better be help. Because I'm not going to do it by myself. Why should I be the only one serving? Why should I be the only one who is getting my hands dirty and working out? Why should I be the only one? No. All of us should do it together. If everybody's doing it, then maybe I'll consider it, but not just by myself. And in the church, we talk about service all the time. We talk about volunteering all the time. Church is built around volunteers, especially City on a Hill. For us, I get a full-time salary. Pastor Nicole gets a part-time salary. That's it. That's it. There's nobody else is paid to do what they do. So when you see Anthony leading worship, he's not getting paid to do that. When you see Jonas leading worship, he's not getting paid to do that. When you see Josh leading our youth ministry and our teenagers, and he meets with them every Thursday night and does a Bible study with them, makes some food and does all this stuff, he's not getting paid to do that. When we have church and you would drop your kids off in our kids ministry and you would drop them off to these wonderful volunteers with smiling faces who take care of your kids for an hour, they're not getting paid to do that. When you see people setting up chairs or tearing them down, they're not getting paid to do that. The only one is myself and partly Nicole. That's it. At City on a Hill. So for us, service is huge. But it's not just us, it's every church. Even like the mega churches who have 1,000 people who come, and they maybe have 20 or 30 people on staff, those 20 or 30 people who are getting paid cannot do it all by themselves. It's too much. It's too much. There are volunteers at every single church. And in every single area of ministries, people have to volunteer, because if we don't, then we're not going to be able to accomplish the goal that we want to accomplish. So in addition to that, for City on a Hill, not only are we a church that needs volunteers to do ministry, but we also are a church that is committed to serving our community, not just existing in our community. That's been our DNA since we launched in 2016. We've always been a church that says, we are not just in our community, we are a part of our community. And we want to help. We want to play a role. We want to assist where needed. So because that's been our DNA as a church, we have come alongside elementary schools where we feed children who maybe don't have food and are either homeless or in transitional living situations, temporary living situations, and we would talk to principals and teachers and people running the schools, and they would say, we would see students coming to school on Monday hungry because there just isn't any food for them at home. So we came alongside some of those schools and we decided that we wanted to feed them. We worked so hard with Be More Caring, which we just did this past week, where we go and we feed the homeless community in Baltimore City. We want to play a role in our community, not just exist in our community. So not only do we need volunteers to serve in our church, but we also need volunteers to serve outside of our church with us as we go out into the community and make a difference. That takes time. That takes effort. That takes hours. That takes hands. That takes people to do these sort of things. If we want to go out and make a difference in the lives of others and show the love of Jesus through our actions, that takes an attitude of service and serving. Now, this is where we are kind of good at this and kind of bad at this. Some of us are great at this. And I'm talking personally for City on a Hill. Some of us who call City on a Hill their home, or attend or watch or whatever it is, however you are associated with City on a Hill, some of us get this and are great with it. And there are people that I could list off who volunteer all the time because they have a heart of service. They just have this genuine desire to bless other people, to care for other people, to go out and make a difference. And I'm just gonna recognize one person, and there are more than this, but there's one person that really stands out to me in our church who has a heart of service, and that's my good friend Cheryl Ball. And now she doesn't know that I'm talking about her, and she would probably tell me not to, but I'm gonna brag on her because Cheryl serves. If you know Cheryl, or if you don't, if you've been to church, she's always works at our welcome table with Audrey, the two smiling ladies who come up and give you hugs and welcome you and those sort of things. Cheryl is always there, and she's so friendly, so nice. But she has a heart of service. Every time that there is an opportunity to serve, Cheryl signs up. She's always there. She goes to Be More Caring all the time. She's involved in every aspect of ministry that we have. She has helped out with our Hope Rising workdays. Anytime there's an opportunity to go, serve, bless others, Cheryl wants to be there and is there if she's able to. Always there. That's the attitude of service that Jesus has called us to have. Because Cheryl understands that serving other people blesses other people and thus shows the light of Jesus Christ to other people. She gets it. She wants to go and make a difference. So if you know Cheryl, comment and congratulate her and tell her how awesome of a job that she's doing, because she is wonderful. So she is one of those people that I would list off as someone who gets it and wants to volunteer. Some of us are great at this. But I'm going to be honest. That list is the people who are really good at serving is much shorter than the list of people who are not really good at serving in our church. I hope this doesn't hurt your feelings or anything, and I don't have anybody else specific in my mind, so I don't want you to feel like I'm talking about you. But I'm going to be honest. A small fraction of our church is great at serving. A majority of our church is not. It's just kind of the truth. And we gotta be honest as a church, and we gotta look at ourselves as a church. Here's an age-old statistic that I don't even know how accurate this is for all churches, but it sure does feel like it's accurate for us. And this isn't a solid number for us, but the age-old statistic is this: 20% of the people do 80% of the work, and 80% of the people do 20% of the work at churches. That's pretty common. And I believe that is close to the number that for our church as well. Let me give you an example, okay? Let me give you an example of this, because I don't want you to just feel like I'm just talking out of the side of my mouth here. I want to give you an example. We've been advertising for these Hope Rising workdays since the beginning of August. So for over a month, we've been advertising for Hope Rising workdays, and we said every Saturday in September we're going to go to Hope Rising, which is a church plant that we have planted from our executive pastor who planted City on the Hill with us, Pastor Lene Ross, so heavily involved in everything that we've done and who we are today. Pastor Lene, who we love, and her husband Ben and their whole family, they went and they planted a church, and we helped plant them. Other churches helped plant them, and we advertised, hey, every Saturday in September, will you sign up for a few hours or come and help us for our work days? And you probably heard me talk about it. You're probably sick of hearing me talk about it. I talked about it almost every sermon leading up to September. So I talked about it a lot. So far, we have had 16 people sign up. Of the 16 people, 5 of them are board members. Board members are people that are elected by you who help run our church, and they make decisions, and we meet every month. In other words, they really are the core. They are the people who are heavily involved. So 5 of the 16 people were board members. 1 is a staff member, and I'm not going to list off all the people who have volunteered. 5 are board members. 1 is a staff member. 1 is a ministry leader. And all of the rest are related to those 7 people. Their family. 5 board members, 1 staff member, 1 ministry leader, and then the rest of the 16, which are 9 other people, were related to those 7 people. I tell you that to say this: those 7 people, 5 board members, 1 staff member, 1 ministry member, and the rest of their family, are the people who do everything. I'm being honest with you here. They do everything. And their families. The 16 people who signed up to volunteer and to help for a few hours on a Saturday. 4 hours on a Saturday. That's it. That's all we were asking. To make a difference for another church in a community that needs to know Jesus more. To make a difference for a pastor who did so much for City on a Hill. Pastor Lene did a ton for City on a Hill, and she worked for free up until the last year where we paid her a part-time salary. So most of the things she did wasn't getting paid for. That community, and we advertised for this for a long time. We had 16 people sign up, 5 board members, 1 staff member, 1 ministry member, and the other 9 people were all related to those 7 people. And I'm going to be really honest. It's disappointing for me. It's disappointing for me. I was really hoping to see more people sign up. I was really hoping to see more people take this seriously, that, hey, we could serve and we can help. And the people who signed up are the people who signed up to do everything. That's that 20% I was talking about who do 80% of the work. They do everything. They do so much stuff. And there are many of us who attend City on a Hill and have attended City on a Hill for a long time who really don't do a lot. And like I said, there's nobody particular in my mind, so I don't want you to think I'm talking about you. But if you feel like I'm talking about you, then maybe it's because you don't serve. Maybe it's because you haven't done a good job in this area. And I'm not here to make you feel guilty. I'm here to challenge you to step up and take ownership of your faith. I'm here to challenge you to realize that service is so important. So since we're talking about this, since we're talking about the importance of service, let's look at the example that Jesus gave us in the Bible. And let's learn about why service is important and what can come of it and the difference that it can make in other people's lives. So let's look at Jesus' attitude towards serving in John chapter 13, verses 1 through 17. This is a story that you maybe have heard before, but it is a powerful, powerful story, and something that is, to me, the best example of what it means to actually serve. So if you got your Bibles, open up to John chapter 13, verses 1 through 17. And it says this: "It was just before the Passover feast. Jesus knew that the time had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he now showed them the full extent of his love. The evening meal was being served, and the devil had already prompted Judas Iscariot, son of Simon, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, 'Lord, are you going to wash my feet?' Jesus replied, 'You do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand.' 'No,' said Peter, 'you shall never wash my feet.' Jesus answered, 'Unless I wash you, you have no part with me.' 'Then, Lord,' Simon Peter said, 'not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well.' And Jesus answered, 'As a person who has had a bath needs only to wash his feet, his whole body is clean, and you are clean, though not every one of you.' For he knew who was going to betray him, and that was why he said not everyone was clean. When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. 'Do you understand what I have done for you?' he asked them. 'You called me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. I tell you the truth. No servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them.'" So we're going to look at a couple of lessons here from this passage. And the first thing in regards to service, in order to understand the importance of serving, we have to have compassion for others. There has to be compassion. That's what service is based around. That's what serving is based around. Because it says right there in the first verse of chapter 13, Jesus knew that the time had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he now showed them the full extent of his love. See, washing a person's feet was the custom for the time period, and someone should have volunteered to do it because they've been walking around, they have sandals on, they've been walking around, dirt, mud, grossness, dirtiness everywhere, And so then when they would come to eat, their feet needed to be washed because they were just disgusting. They've been walking all around town. And when they would eat, not only were their feet gross, but the way that they would eat was they would recline at the table. They didn't sit on chairs like we do. They would sit on the ground and lean back and recline at the table and eat. So naturally doing that, when you had a large amount of people around the table, like would be the case here with the 12 disciples and Jesus and a few other people beyond that, they would recline, and the person next to you would have their feet right at your elbow. So if you were reclined this way, the next person's feet would be right here, basically right at your face. And I don't know about you, but for a lot of people, feet is just disgusting. Even clean feet. Like, a lot of people are like, ugh, I can't stand feet. My wife is one of them. She hates feet. Hates them. She thinks that they are disgusting. And I know that many other people feel the same way. I mean, I'm not like, they don't gross me out, but they're just dirty, right? So like feet and dinner and food don't really mix. So especially when you're walking around in the hot weather, dirt all over your feet, nasty. So the custom was you would have to wash your feet before you would eat the meal. Just like we believe it's important to wash your hands before you eat, and that's a normal thing for us. That was the way that they treated your feet and your hands as well, because your feet are right there up in your face. So needless to say, washing feet was important. And typically what would happen was either the host or a hired servant or the owner of the house or the place where everybody was eating or whoever would organize the washing of the feet. There would be somebody in charge, a host, who would make sure that either he or she washed your feet or they had somebody in place to wash your feet, and they would organize it. But if there was no host, if there was no servant, if there was no owner or anybody like that, and we're all just going and gathering together in a communal place to eat, typically the first person to enter the room would be the one to wash your feet. And because they would have the most time to prepare for it. They would walk into the room and they would be responsible for making the provisions of having everybody else's feet washed. And they would volunteer to do this. But this crowd, with the disciples and Jesus, not this crowd. Nope. Nobody volunteered. As you can see from the story, they walk in, and this is just before Passover feast, which is a very important time. They walk in, and everybody sits down. And nobody stands up to go and wash everybody else's feet. Nobody decides to do that. I don't know if you ever, I remember as a kid growing up, and we'd sit down before we would eat, and we would always pray before we would eat, and we would play the game where it's like nose goes. If you don't know nose goes, it's the last person to put their finger on their nose has to do something. So we would all sit there and nobody would say anything, and then you would just see one person go like this, and then everyone is doing it, and the last person who didn't do it had to pray, as if that's a punishment. We don't do that anymore because I'm a pastor and my brother's a pastor, and we can pray. It's fine. And the rest of our family prays. But as a kid, I was like, oh no, I don't want to pray. I don't want to pray. I don't want to pray. Maybe you do this at your home, or maybe you're an adult and do this because that's really mature. But anyways, oh, I don't want to pray. I don't want to pray. I don't want to pray. That's kind of what they're doing with washing the feet. Not me. Nose goes. And they're trying to see if somebody else is going to do it. Or maybe they're just like not even mentioning it because they know if they mention it, then they would have to be the one to wash everybody's feet. Nobody wants to do it. It's a dirty, gross, nasty job. Nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to step up. And especially in this crowd that is made up of the disciples who many times had an attitude problem. Think about the disciples. They got to a place, the disciples did, and this example proves it, got to a place where they felt like they were above certain jobs. Similar to the Pharisees, similar to the religious leaders, right? The religious leaders are not washing anybody else's feet. They're having their feet washed. And that was how the disciples felt. I mean, I'm one of the 12 that Jesus handpicked to be his disciple. I don't wash feet. That's not my responsibility. No. I'm above that. I'm a disciple. I'm Peter. I'm John. I'm Judas. I'm better than that. Nope. Jesus handpicked me to be a disciple. I'm not going to wash anybody else's feet. There should be lowly servants who do that. There should be other people who take care of that. I'm above it. And we know that the disciples had an attitude problem because they literally at one point argued about who was the greatest among themselves. And they even went to Jesus and they said, Jesus, once you just completely defeat everything in this world and you embarrass all of your enemies and you have ultimate victory and we all go to heaven or you bring your kingdom here on earth, who's going to be at the right hand? Is it going to be me, Peter? Am I going to be the one at the right hand? And they were all arguing about it. They were all debating as to who was the greatest amongst themselves. And obviously it made Jesus pretty angry and pretty annoyed. So that's who he's dealing with. Because a lot of times the more power that we get, the more responsibility that we're given, the older that we get in life, the more this attitude creeps into our lives and we say, work day? Nope, not me. I'm above that. I've been a Christian for far too long to do a work day on a Saturday where I have to pull weeds or paint or cut grass. Nope, not me. I'm beyond that. And you look just like the disciples. That's the attitude that they had. I mean, think about this situation. So because the disciples are too arrogant, because the disciples are too proud to wash everybody else's feet, and think about it, they are literally, they're in front of the Son of God. I mean, like, if there's any situation where you should start washing feet, it's when you're having dinner with Jesus. Right? I mean, I would understand that attitude, not that it's right. I would understand that attitude a little bit more if it were only the disciples and Jesus wasn't there. And they're like, well, no, okay, now I don't want to wash everybody's. But Jesus is there, the King, the Savior of the world. And they're like, no, I'm not washing feet. I'm above it. That's crazy. So who's the one to wash the feet? Jesus? The Savior of the world? The King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the Son of God? He stands up from the table. He walks over, takes off his outer clothing, grabs a bowl, fills it with water, ties a towel around his waist, gets on his hands and knees, and begins washing the dirty, gross, nasty feet of the disciples. That's what happened? Are you kidding me? Jesus? And not only did he wash their feet, he washed their feet knowing what was about to happen in just a short period of time. He washed their feet knowing Judas was going to betray him. He washed their feet knowing Peter was going to deny him 3 times. He washed their feet knowing that the disciples were going to run and hide the minute that the going got tough. The minute that Jesus was arrested, they would scatter like cockroaches. They would run away and hide and be worried and terrified and deny Jesus. He washed their feet. And they're sitting there saying that they're too good to wash anybody else's feet. In this moment, I can't do it. If I were Jesus, and this is why I'm not Jesus. If I were Jesus, I would be like, are you serious right now? Are you kidding me? Do you know who I am? Do you know who you are? You were a fisherman. You were just out working on a boat, and I changed your life. I changed everything for you. And now you're too good? Now you're above washing feet? Are you kidding me? I would have been so... That's why I'm not Jesus. And if I'm being honest, I would have been just like the disciples. Because there are times in my life now where I act like I'm better than everybody else. Where I become too proud, too arrogant. I do that. That happens in my life without a doubt. So it's easy for me to sit on my couch in the basement of my house and point fingers at the disciples and be like, who do you think you are? When I'm sure I would have done the same thing. So Jesus goes and washes the disciples' feet. And he teaches us a great lesson in this process. You will never serve properly if you are worried about your position of importance. You'll never serve properly if you're worried about your position of importance. If you're worried about, well, I paid my dues. Well, I'm a board member, which, by the way, our board members are wonderful and they do tremendous work. Well, I've served in kids ministry for 5 years. I've paid my dues. Well, I've done this, I've done that, and we just go through our list of accomplishments, and we think that we've reached this status, and we're more worried about our position of importance than we are about actually serving other people. And when we are more worried about our position of importance compared to serving other people, then obviously we're not going to serve people properly. We won't. This is what it says in verses 12 through 16. This is what Jesus says to them after he had washed their feet, and after he had that interaction with Peter, who he just all over the place. Peter cracks me up. But after all that, this is what he says. Do you understand what I've done for you? You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that's what I am. But now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Very truly, I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. See, great service comes from great humility. We serve well because we care about the people we are serving and know that everyone is important, not just me. Great service comes from great humility. See, if service is not important to you, and it could be for many reasons. Maybe you say, I'm too busy. Maybe you say, I just doesn't fit in my schedule. Maybe you say, that's just not my area of expertise. That's not for me. That's not appealing to me. That just doesn't excite me. A million excuses, and maybe even you have legitimate excuses. I've got 2 young kids at home. I don't have the time. I need to spend more time with my family, whatever it may be. Don't get me wrong. I don't want you to feel bad for having a reason for not doing something. But if you always have a reason for not doing something, that should be a red flag. If you always are too busy, if you always are too tired, if you always have too much work, if you always have too much homework, if you always need to spend more time with your family because you haven't been spending enough time with them already, then maybe your priorities are out of whack. Maybe you're missing out on what's actually important in this world. Maybe, just maybe, you need to get your life in order. Because if it's rare for you to serve, and then you do it once and you think, okay, good, check that off, now I don't have to hear Pastor Shane talk about me in another sermon again. If that's the way that you go about it, you're more worried about your position of importance, or you're lazy, than you are about actually helping other people, which then tells me you don't care about other people. I know that this is like a really blunt sermon. I understand that. But sometimes we need blunt. Sometimes we need honesty. And sometimes we need someone to shake us and be like, what are you doing? Oh, you're too good to wash everybody else's feet? Jesus wasn't. But you're too good? You're the one who's above it? You're the one above serving in kids ministry? You're the one picking up a rake and raking some leaves? You're the one above working with teenagers? You're the one above cleaning up your chairs after service? You are? While Jesus is on his hands and knees washing the feet of everybody else? Okay, interesting. Pretty arrogant. Jesus gives us the great example of service. If he came to serve, not to be served, then who in the world do we think we are? Who do we think we are? Yet, many churchgoers care about this. Play the songs I like, have the service times when I want them, plan fun things that are enjoyable to me that I care about. Don't ask me to do something I don't want to do. Someone else can take care of the kids. Someone else can set up the chairs. Someone else can take care of the teenagers. Someone else can go and feed the homeless in Baltimore City. Someone else can do those things. I come to be fed, not to feed other people. My goodness. And nobody would say that out loud. Well, I should say nobody. Some people would. Some people have said that out loud to me. But most of us wouldn't say that out loud, but we live that way. We act like that's the truth. And it's embarrassing as people. See, I say all of this to tell you this. If you don't stretch yourself in service, then you are not living out the basics that Jesus taught us. If you're not trying to grow in your service, you don't have the foundation that Jesus gave us the example of. That's the truth. The life of following Jesus means you're going to have to roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty, get on your knees, and wash some feet. And when we do that, I promise you won't regret it if you have the right attitude. But if you have the attitude of, oh, this sucks, this is stupid, I don't like doing, then you're not going to enjoy it. But if you go into it with compassion for other people and you say, I'm doing this because I want to help. I'm doing this because I want to make a difference beyond myself. I'm doing this because I care about these people. And when you go into it with that heart, and you understand the compassion that is needed for other people, and you get off your high horse and you're not worried about your position of importance, and instead you're only worried about helping other people and blessing other people, that's when service is life-giving. That's when it changes everything. And that's when it gives us an opportunity to know Jesus more and to grow closer with Jesus. So if this message has been challenging for you, good. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to continue to just sit on your couch and just let life pass you by? Or are you going to say, you know what? I want to go and serve. You know what? I want to go and help feed the homeless in Baltimore City. Yeah, you know what? I want to go and help Hope Rising Community Church. Yeah, you know what? I want to help by gathering food for people who need it. Or if and it doesn't have to fit only what we're doing. If you don't know how to serve and you want to serve, just look around you. There are needs everywhere, and talk to me. Talk to our church. Talk to Tara Anderson. She has a huge heart for serving. Talk to these people. Because this is an opportunity for us to bless other people, to wash other people's feet, to lead by example, because Jesus first washed our feet. Now we should wash other people's feet. Get off your high horse and get to work. So we're going to sing, and as we close with a song, I want you to really think about, have I been committed to serving? Have I been committed to others? And if not, what are you going to do to make sure that this is a priority in your life? Let's pray and then let's sing. Jesus, I thank you that you led the example of washing our feet, of being committed to helping other people know that we are valued and cared for. Thank you that Jesus came to this earth showed us what it meant to live a life that is worthy of living, that is filled with serving other people and putting other people first. God, I pray that we are unselfish people. I pray that we look for opportunities to put other people ahead of ourselves. I pray that we look for opportunities to bless other people by washing their feet. Help us, God, to open our eyes to the opportunities that you have placed all around us, so that we can love and live the way you've called us to live, so that other people can find life and hope and life everlasting. God, you are a good God who didn't just tell us what to do, but you showed us what to do. And I pray that we live a life of humility, a life that is based around your example. I pray for the person who wants to help and doesn't really know how. I pray that you open things to them so that it is so obvious what you've called them to do. God, we give you everything. We pray this in the holy name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Let's sing together.
Thank you for the wilderness, where I learned to thirst for your presence. And if I'd ever known that place, how would I have known you are better? And thank you for the lonely times when I learned to live in the silence. And as the other voices fade, I can hear you calling me Jesus. And it's worth it all just to know you more. You've done great things, Jesus. Your love never fails me. My soul will sing. You have done great things. Thank you for the scars I bear. They declare that you are my healer. How would I have seen your strength if you never showed me my weakness? And it's worth it all